July 4th, 1968, 6:17 a.m. Bumpy Johnson woke up with a feeling he couldn't shake. Something was wrong. Not with the world outside, not with business. Something inside him. A weight on his chest that had nothing to do with worry. A heaviness that seemed to grow with every breath. He was 63 years old. He'd survived 40 years in a profession where most men died young. He'd outlived Dutch Schultz, Lucky Luciano, most of the enemies who'd tried to kill him. He'd built an empire and held it against all comers. But that morning, lying in bed beside his wife Mamie, Bumpy Johnson knew something his doctors hadn't told him, and his enemies had never managed to accomplish. He was running out of time. This is the story of Bumpy Johnson's last 24 hours, the final day of Harlem's greatest gangster. The moments, the conversations, the decisions that defined how a king would leave his throne. The last stand wasn't against bullets or enemies, it was against time itself. Mamie stirred beside him, opened her eyes, saw him staring at the ceiling. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Go back to sleep." She didn't go back to sleep. After 35 years of marriage, she knew when her husband was lying. She propped herself up on one elbow and looked at him. "Tell me." Bumpy was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something he'd never said before. "I'm tired, Mamie. Not sleepy tired. Tired all the way through. Tired of fighting. Tired of watching my back. Tired of being the man everyone comes to when they need something fixed." "It's been a long road," she said softly. Yeah, it has." He turned to look at her. This face he'd loved since he was 28 years old. This woman who'd stood beside him through prison and war and everything else. "You ever regret it? Marrying me? Choosing this life?" Mamie smiled. The same smile that had captured him 3 decades ago. Not for 1 second. They lay there in the early morning light. Two people who'd built something together. Something most people couldn't understand. Something that had lasted longer than anyone had predicted. "Not a bad run," Bumpy said. "Not yet," Mamie replied. "You've got time left." "Do I?" The question hung in the air. Mamie didn't answer it. She couldn't. 8:30 a.m. Bumpy dressed carefully that morning. The charcoal gray suit, the white shirt, the subtle tie. Looking sharp had always been important to him. A man who looked like a king got treated like a king. He ate breakfast slowly, savoring Mamie's cooking. Eggs, bacon, toast with butter. Coffee strong enough to wake the dead. A meal he'd eaten 1,000 times before. A meal that tasted different today. After breakfast, he made phone calls. The first was to his daughter Ruthie, 43 years old now, married with children of her own. They talked for 30 minutes about nothing in particular. Her kids, her husband, the weather. The kind of conversation families have when they're not talking about what they're really thinking about. Before he hung up, Bumpy said something unusual. "I want you to know I'm proud of you. Everything you've become, everything you've built. You turned out good, Ruthie. Better than anyone expected, better than I deserved." "Daddy, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong, baby girl, I just wanted you to know. Sometimes we don't say things often enough. I love you. I love you too, Daddy." He hung up, sat there for a moment, then made the next call. 10 a.m. Junie arrived at the house. He'd been Bumpy's right hand for 30 years. Knew more about the operation than anyone, except Bumpy himself. They sat in the living room, just the two of them, and talked about business. Numbers. Collections. Problems that needed solving. The routine matters of running an empire. Then Bumpy shifted the conversation. "Junie, you ever think about what happens after?" "After what?" "After me." Junie went still. In 30 years, Bumpy had never talked about his own mortality, never planned for succession, never acknowledged that there might be a day when he wasn't there. "Where's this coming from, Bump?" "Just thinking. I'm 63. That's old for our line of work. Most men in my position are either dead or in prison by now. I've been lucky, But luck runs out. You got plenty of time left. Maybe. Maybe not. Either way, you need to be ready. When I'm gone, you take over. You know the operation. You know the people. You've got the respect. Junie looked at his boss, his friend, the man he'd followed into danger more times than he could count. I don't want to talk about this, I know you don't. But we're going to anyway. For the next hour, Bumpy laid out everything. The key contacts, the money flows, the relationships that needed maintaining, the threats that needed watching. He was transferring 40 years of knowledge, compressing it into a single conversation. Junie took notes, even though he didn't want to. Even though every word felt like a goodbye, when it was done, Bumpy leaned back in his chair. One more thing. What? Take care of Mamie. Whatever happens, whatever changes, she's protected. She never wants for anything. That's not negotiable. You know I will. I know. But I needed to say it. They sat in silence for a while. Two old warriors who'd seen everything together. It's been an honor, Junie said finally. Working with you, being part of what you built. Bumpy smiled. A rare, genuine smile. Honor's been mine, Junie. You're a good man. Better than this life deserves. 1 p.m. Bumpy went for a walk. This wasn't unusual. He often walked through Harlem, checking on things, being seen, maintaining the presence that was part of his power. But today's walk was different. He walked slowly, looked at everything as if seeing it for the first time. The brownstones on Strivers Row, the shops on 125th Street, the corners where his runners worked, the churches, the schools, the whole neighborhood he'd spent 40 years building and protecting. People greeted him as he passed. Mr. Johnson, Bumpy, how you doing today? He greeted them back, called them by name when he knew them, asked about their families, their health, their troubles. These were his people. For better or worse, he'd devoted his life to them, given them jobs, paid their bills, kept them safe from predators. What did it add up to? What would be left when he was gone? He didn't know. Couldn't know. He walked past the church where he'd attended services for 30 years, past the restaurant where he'd had his first real meal in Harlem, past the corner where he'd fought his first fight and made his first reputation. Every block was a memory. Every street corner was a story. 3 p.m. He stopped at a barber shop on 127th Street, sat down for a shave. The barber, an old man named Raymond, had been cutting Bumpy's hair since the 1940s. They talked about old times, about people who were gone, about how the neighborhood had changed over the years. You know what I remember most, Raymond said, working the razor carefully around Bumpy's jaw. I remember when you first came in here. Young man, couldn't have been more than 20, full of fire, full of ambition. I looked at you and I thought, this one's going to be trouble, was I? The best kind, the kind that changes things. Raymond finished the shave, wiped Bumpy's face with a hot towel. You look good, Mr. Johnson. Distinguished. Like the elder statesman you are. Elder statesman. Bumpy laughed. That's a polite way of saying old. Old beats the alternative. That it does. Bumpy paid, tipped generously as always, and walked out into the afternoon sun. 5 p.m. Back at the house, Mamie was waiting. They had dinner together. Just the two of them. No business, no interruptions. A quiet meal like any ordinary couple might have after decades of marriage. They talked about the old days, how they'd met, the early struggles, the times they'd laughed and the times they'd cried. Remember when we got married, Mamie said. Your mother didn't approve, said I was too fancy for a country boy from South Carolina. She came around. Eventually, took her 5 years. She loved you in the end. Couldn't help it. Nobody can help loving you. Mamie reached across the table, took his hand. Something's different today. You've been different all day. Tell me what's going on. Bumpy looked at her. This woman who'd been his partner in everything, who'd seen him at his worst and loved him anyway. I don't know how to explain it. I woke up this morning feeling like time was short. Like I needed to do things today that I might not get a chance to do tomorrow. So I did them. Are you sick? Is there something the doctors haven't told me? No, nothing like that, just a feeling. Mamie squeezed his hand. Well, feelings aren't facts. You're strong. You're healthy. You've got years left. Probably. Bumpy smiled. Probably you're right. But there was something in his eyes that made Mamie's heart clench. Something that said he didn't quite believe it. 7:30 p.m. Bumpy decided to go out for a late dinner. Mamie stayed home, tired from the day, but told him to enjoy himself. He put on his coat, kissed her goodbye. I won't be late. You're always late. Tonight I won't be. He walked out into the Harlem evening. The summer air was warm. The streets were alive with people. Music spilled out of open windows. Laughter echoed from corner to corner. This was his neighborhood, his kingdom. 40 years of sweat and blood and strategy had made it his. Would it last after he was gone? Would the things he'd built survive him? He hoped so. He'd tried to set it up that way. But you never knew. Nothing lasted forever. 8:15 p.m. Wells Restaurant on 132nd Street. One of Bumpy's regular spots. Good food, good atmosphere. A place where he could relax and be himself. He sat at his usual table, ordered his usual meal. Chicken and rice. A glass of wine. The restaurant was busy. People came by to pay their respects as they always did. Bumpy greeted them, made small talk, played the role of benevolent king that had become second nature over the decades. He ate slowly, savoring the food, thinking about the day, about all the days that had led to this one. 9:22 p.m. Bumpy Johnson put down his fork. His chest felt tight, tighter than it had that morning, tight enough that breathing was suddenly difficult. He tried to stand up, couldn't. His legs weren't responding. He tried to call for help. The words wouldn't come. The last thing Bumpy Johnson saw was the ceiling of Wells Restaurant. The last thing he felt was his heart, that massive heart that had carried him through 63 years finally giving out. He fell forward, face down on his plate. The king of Harlem was dead. The restaurant erupted in chaos. People screaming, someone calling for an ambulance, someone else trying to perform CPR. It was too late. Had been too late from the moment his heart stopped. Bumpy Johnson died the way he'd lived, in Harlem, surrounded by his people. On his feet, more or less, until the very end. No enemy had gotten him, no bullet, no betrayal. Just time, the one opponent nobody defeats. When Mamie got the call, she didn't scream, didn't collapse. She sat down in the chair her husband had sat in that morning, looked at the empty space beside her, and said a single word: goodbye. July 4th, 1968, the last day of Bumpy Johnson. 24 hours of reflection, connection, preparation. As if some part of him had known what was coming and had needed to say goodbye. The conversations with his daughter and his lieutenant, the walk through Harlem, the quiet dinner with his wife. All of it pointing toward an ending he felt but couldn't name. In the end, he died the way everyone dies. Alone, despite the crowd around him, leaving behind a legacy that others would have to carry forward. But he'd spent that last day doing something most people never get the chance to do. He'd said what needed saying, done what needed doing, left nothing important unsaid. When the end came, Bumpy Johnson was ready as anyone ever is. If this story of a king's last day, the quiet moments before the end, and the legacy that outlived the man moved you, smash that subscribe button. Drop a like if you understand that how you live your last day is the truest test of how you lived your life. If you had 24 hours left, what would you do? Who would you call? What would you need to say? Let me know in the comments. More legendary stories coming. Because even though Bumpy Johnson's story ended on July 4th, 1968, the legend was just beginning. The last stand of Harlem's king. Not against enemies. Against time. And time, as always, won. But what Bumpy left behind? That lives forever.